Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Patreon podcast. It's been a while since I've recorded one of these. I had a huge backlog back in February, and then all of the pandemic stuff hit, and I kind of just let this run. I'm really grateful that I had this backlog, and now I'm almost out, so I got to start recording them again. I'm recording in my basement instead of my truck, so the audio environment might be a little bit different, but hopefully the content is still the same quality. So this week, I wanted to talk about the idea of small increments. And I think that there's a lot to be said about focusing on the small victories instead of the overall goal. For one, I think that it's important to be aware of those small victories because they don't always happen. And it's good to celebrate every movement that you make towards being more successful. And obviously you want to have those victories move toward your greater goal, but I think those small increments and those small improvements are one of the most valuable things that you can focus on when you are just working on being a creator and growing. I found that one thing that I like to do anyway is I like to have an Excel document that lists out all of my followers on various social media, all of the money I've made based off of like Patreon and Pretzel and Spotify and all those other places. Like I have all of those in a document that I can just mark down every month, and I can actually see the growth over time. And those small increments, while from month to month they're not very big, but from year to year, they're actually fairly significant. And I love having that that power to see that, yeah, I am growing and I am getting better at what I'm doing. And I think that it's really valuable to have that kind of data to encourage you to keep going, because really it is all about the small increments. It is all about getting those small victories, because otherwise, it can be really overwhelming, and it can be really discouraging when you put something out and it doesn't, like, people don't see it or don't really respond to it. And yeah, like, it can be really discouraging because it's like I'm working on this game where I post tweets about it and I post GIFs about it and stuff, and it's like nobody really responds to it. But that's not necessarily the point. Like, the point is just to get something out there and to grow my library. And I'm hoping that, it goes over well once there's a full release for it. And once there's something released, I feel that people will be more receptive to actually checking it out instead of just, like, responding to a tweet. But I don't know. Like, there's a lot of moving parts with things, and I feel that having these small increments and small victories is really important, because it just allows you to I'm just reiterating this now. It just allows you to celebrate the small victories and have here's a good example. And I think this is why I wrote this down. The problem with me writing these ideas down like 2 months ago is I can't remember the core reason why it's so important. The reason why I believe I wanted to talk about small victories and small increments like this is, like most of the things I talk about, based off the 2-hour track challenge, where when I make a song, like, that's just one song. And that's just one song that kind of gets thrown out into the internet, and hopefully people like it. But the thing with small increments is if I do that week after week and month after month, like right now I think I have 228 songs in the 2-hour track challenge project, which is crazy. That's so many songs. And I think that having those small increments grow into a greater whole is really important and really valuable, because now when I talk about the 2-hour track challenge, that project, I can talk about just the sheer volume of music in this library that I've been building. And yeah, I've been building it every week for the past 4 years, but that's not necessarily the point. The point is that I've been working in small increments. I didn't sit down with the intent of writing 200 songs. I sat down with the intent of writing one song, and that just kept happening over 200 times. And I think that that's the important distinction. Whereas, like, if you sit down with a project in mind where it's like, oh, I'm just going to write a couple hundred songs, no big deal, like that project's never going to get done, because, like, how would it? So I think that's really the core of what I wanted to say in this, where, yeah, it is about focusing on the small victories, but it is more about focusing on the small increments that move you forward as an artist, whether that's building your library or practicing every day or just any other. I mean, practicing every day is a whole nother thing we could talk about, where, like, you can sit down and practice like 8 hours a day, but who has time for that? And, like, nobody really has time for that. It's all about sitting down and practicing for 10 minutes or 20 minutes and just doing like 1 or 2 sketches or small ideas. And that's the small increment that actually benefits you more, because that's a sustainable thing that you can do. There's something that people talk about where it's not necessarily the act of practicing as much as it is just sitting down and touching the piano once a day, or sitting down and like doodling something. Like, it doesn't matter how much you do, it just matters that you do something, because it's so easy to lose momentum when you are in that I got to do something every day mindset, where if you skip a day, then suddenly it's way easier to skip the next day, and then you lose that momentum, and then you're not practicing at all. But if you sit down and make the effort to at least touch the keys or to just put a mark on a page, that usually, like, the effort of actually getting to the point where you're either practicing or not, that usually encourages you to continue practicing, because you're already there. You might as well keep doing it. And I think that there's a lot to be said about that. It's the same thing when people like talk about going to the gym or exercising. A lot of people suggest that you have like workout shorts or something. And even if you don't go to the gym, put those shorts on every day, because once you like make the effort to put those shorts on, half the time you're going to be like, well, I already went to the effort of putting these shorts on, I might as well actually do something while I'm in them. And the other half of the time is you put the shorts on and you're like, well, I don't really feel like it, so you just kind of go about your own thing. But at least you made an effort to do something toward that particular goal. And I think that helps a great deal when it comes to staying motivated on those small increments. So that's pretty much it on this one. I really want to start recording these again, so I'm probably going to just do a couple more right now, I hope. And yeah, like these in their own thing is a small increment. Like I've been doing, I think this is episode 37. I want to record up to a full year, so 52 episodes, and then I want to figure out where I want to bring this project. So, yeah, there's a lot of things that I want to do, but I have to sit down and I actually have to do them. And I can't sit down and record 20 episodes at once. That would drive me crazy, and I'd lose my voice. So it's like I had a huge backlog simply because every day I drove into work, I spent 5 minutes sitting in my truck just talking into my phone. And then I'd process that and I'd schedule it, and then it would be done. And I had like a 2.5 month backlog because of that. And I'm so thankful that I had that backlog, because when the coronavirus or whatever hit, I didn't want to do anything. And I was able to sustain that backlog until I got back into a better place mentally, so I could actually take care of these recordings again. So, yeah, I think that's all I have to say about this. So thank you so much for listening, and thank you so much for being a Patreon supporter. I can't remember my outro, so maybe we'll just make a new one. Anyway, I really appreciate you listening and being a supporter of my Patreon, and I will talk to you in the next one. Be remarkable.